Hello, everybody. There's no audio. 1, 2. Why not? Okay. We've got a problem. You got audio? Why doesn't it show here? So, you guys hear me? Okay. That is so weird. It tells me. All right. I guess it's working. I don't know why. Notification is saying that I don't have audio. So, anyways, I'll keep an eye on that. It took unusually long for the connection to happen. I don't know what is happening with YouTube. I looked at the other websites and everything, and everything seemed normal in speed and the internet. So I guess it's okay. Okay. Let me just check if everything's all right for the rest. I will do a little something here. Copy this. Found a little something here. Hello, everybody. One of those weird things sometimes. So welcome to the live show. And here's okay. Amazingly beautiful day today. We're at about 17, 18 Celsius. We're getting close to 70 Fahrenheit. And this week, we're supposed to have tomorrow, Sunday, up to Wednesday, temperatures in the mid 70s, which is unusual for this time of year. It's supposed to be 20 tomorrow, 21 on Monday, 23 on Tuesday, and 25 Celsius on Wednesday before it drops back down to 10 or 11 degrees, which is about the normal for this time of year. Crazy. Okay. So, hey, everybody, welcome aboard. This is the weekly Shortwave radio live show. We are here every week talking about radio and having fun, answering questions, and just, having a great moment where all of this usually is a solitary hobby where we don't have a lot of people to share this hobby with, but that hobby is now able to gather together and to this where we are a bunch of guys that just have fun together with radio. 29050. I was actually listening. 29050. There's, I'm just going to do this. I think it's too crossing interference. So I was listening to some AMers on the 10-meter band. There's actually a VE6CQ Rook out of Calgary, Alberta that was calling CQ just a few minutes ago on 29050. And I even heard earlier today a British guy, Golf 3 something, on 29,000 kilohertz exactly. So I'm having fun checking that. Trying to make my first AM contact, which I've never done. The problem with the AM on the Yisu is that the power output on AM mode is only 25 watts on the Yaesu FTDX10, like many rigs. Wish it would be 100 watts like all the rest, but makes it more difficult to get to make a contact. And my Texan H501X is on CHU 7850. Let's try that here. Yeah. Loud and clear on the ICOM. I see RD500 too. So we are here every Saturday and we talk about radio. We, of course, have a lot of fun with that. My name is Gilles. I'm located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, northeast part of North America. And there's a beautiful chat room with wonderful people if you want to join in and have fun with everyone. Once that is over, we have a Facebook group of the same name, Official SWL Channel, that has over 4,000 members and that share what they're listening to, what they're doing. A lot of activity on that group. It's pretty fun to watch. I often post what I'm listening to also. So it's kind of cool to have all of that together. I think it's a great space for all of us to enjoy our hobby to the fullest. Now, remember, we are at the last week of the A24 schedules. So up to next Saturday at 23:59 UTC, we are in our summer schedules. Sunday of next week, Sunday the 27th, it's going to be B24 schedules, brand new frequencies and times for a lot of broadcasts. So if you have your favorite broadcast that you're hanging on to and listening with a decent signal, take the time to listen to it this week, because all of that's going to change coming next week, because propagation changes as the seasons go. And so it's important for all of that to work in the wintertime. So, of course, they will change their frequencies to actually match the fact that we have different, the nights are longer in the Northern Hemisphere, stuff like that. So often they'll choose lower frequencies than in the summertime. So do check out your favorite broadcast, because next week on Sunday, the 27th, everything is going to change. So this is something to look at and to look for. For the rest, we've had some really amazing propagation this week with 10 meter band. Tried AM. I went on FM too, 10 meter FM. Had a lot of fun going around the bands on the amateur bands. Next weekend is the CQ Worldwide SSB contest. This is the contest that I love and that I will be in all weekend. So I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do. The live show will happen, that's for sure. I was thinking maybe doing a few contacts during the live show to show you the contest and a little bit. And maybe at the same time, you guys can try and hear me on the bands. I think that could be cool. So if you guys want to try that next week, I think we will kind of do a hybrid thing. I'll do the live show. I'll take time to do a little bit of contesting live. And at the same time, you guys can try and hear me and hear the different stations. We'll tune around, find exotic ham stations, stuff like that. I think it's going to be a different show. It's going to be an interesting show. And probably, maybe, who knows, maybe some of you will want to become ham radio operators after that. So I think next week, this is going to be like, it's going to be kind of fun to do this, show where I'm on the amateur bands also at the same time, which will be kind of really cool. So that's the big contest, and I want to be there next. So last year I participated just for fun. I had never contested before, and I thought that it could be really cool. This year I'm going to be a little more serious. I'm not a big gun station. I'm not going to be up there in the best scores, that's for sure. But one thing for sure, I did 55,000 points, which is very small. I mean, there are guys out there that have millions of points during the contests. But one thing surprised me a lot is that on the certificate that CQ has with my score on it, I am 7th in Canada. And that made me think of how really there's not a lot of Canadian ham stations participating in the contest. I'm very, very surprised about that. I would have thought there were dozens and dozens and dozens of stations. It turns out there were a handful of Canadian stations participate in the CQ Worldwide, which is very surprising, personally. I was talking with Sheldon. We recorded the International Radio Report just before I started the live show here. Exceptionally, usually we record it on Friday afternoon. And I mentioned this, and I was talking about how I find that the amateur bands, local amateur bands here in Canada, are so quiet. And it makes me realize, and we talked about some events that were happening. There was a ham fest in or a flea market, a amateur flea market in the West Island here. And we were talking about the fact that it was supposed to be from 8 a.m. to noon. And after an hour, it already had shut down. It was like, there's no one. And it makes me wonder about the state of amateur radio in Canada. It seems like there ain't that many amateurs. There's a lot of licensed hams. There's just ain't a lot of hams that actually participate in any event. Lack of participation is kind of scary and kind of sad at the same time. You got a ham license. Why do you have a ham license if you don't use it? You know? So this is a beer. Cheers, everyone. So I don't know. It's kind of a sad state when you think about it. About, so few stations participating. So it's just crazy. The ratio of population from Canada and the United States is about 10-1. There's 10 times less population in Canada, which technically should also, if a representation should be that there's 10 times less hams. But look at how many US hams we hear all over the bands. There isn't 10 times less hams. There's way less hams. That is kind of crazy. So it's really, really interesting to see that there was one guy on the 2-meter band. This guy participates every year to the field day in June. And usually what he does, he sets up in a park, not that far from here, maybe an hour from here, 45 minutes. And he does that every year. And I was hearing him talking about the fact that this year he set up and nobody else set up with him. It was the first year he was all alone in the park for field day. And he was wondering if next year he's going to go to the park. He says, well, if nobody wants to participate, what's the point? So definitely something's happening. And definitely a lot of hams are not there. Once again, we talk about noise, how noise is crazy. I had a comment on the channel this week. Somebody was watching my 10-meter video and saying, wow, you got a lot of noise. And I'm like, yeah, I live in the middle of a big city. I'm smack in the middle of Montreal here. I'm not downtown, but I'm in a pretty densely populated area of Montreal. It shows. The noise is everywhere. And, I don't live in a place where I could have the luxury of, having low noise and amazing DX contacts. We were talking last week about that when we, I couldn't make contacts on 40 or 80 meters because the noise is just too high. People hear me, but I don't hear them. It comes to that, so I'm stuck in specific bands, and at least I can still do a lot of DX. I've been chasing some of the special event stations, the DXpeditions, and I think that it's I can actually contact them and all, but so you do the best you can with the conditions you have. So let's go to the chat room. Before we start, if you want to contribute to the channel, you can do so by using the super chat, giving a little something, and or you can, of course, give PayPal donations to the PayPal address that I'm going to put down right now. If you want to contribute, it helps me out, helps me continue being here every week, and hopefully you enjoy what I do and think that it's worth giving a little something in return to help out and make sure that I'm here every week. And thanks for all of you that have made donations. And hey, let's try today to have maybe a few donations from people that don't donate usually. You know, it's not always for the same people to give donations. Chat room, Matt and MDK2, nice to have you on board from Denver, Colorado. James Farley, nice to have you here from Old New Jersey. KD2GUZ. Valtz, nice to have you here from Latvia. Nice to have you on board with your 10 degrees Celsius. Rob's radio channel in the UK, nice to have you here. James Farley is getting some slow scan TV on 14230 and CHU on 14670. Jean Arrache, salut, j'espère que tu vas bien. Nice to have you on board. TVDXer, salut, j'espère que tu vas bien toi aussi. Nice to have you here. We have 45 unit. Nice to have you on board from Southeast Connecticut. A sunny fall day with some nice colors around us. Yep, here too. Trees are like at the maximum right now. A week or two from now, and all is going to be gone, especially if we get some high winds. Andy Neo, nice to have you here from Bristol, UK. M7CUN. Pretty good to have you here. Mad Radio DXer, nice to have you on board, my friend. Richard Califano, nice to have you on board from upstate New York. Chuck Schreiber, nice to have you here. N5KVO from South Texas and 81 there. Bobby Burgess, nice to have you here. Dubmaster Players Radio and Television, WA5107SWL, Morgan City, Louisiana. What else do we have? RJ Dakota, nice to have you on board. And we have Robert Varner, nice to have you here. KC2TEL in New Jersey. DX Winner, nice to have you here from Southeast Pennsylvania. Been trying your beacons on IBP project. I got a few of them. Yeah, this is kind of cool. It's fun to follow also that which ones are going to be there. So even if you don't know your Morse code enough to identify the stations by ear, you at least know what station is going to be broadcasting. And it's worth trying at different times of day and night because you'll have the different countries, different beacons. Always looking at self. Nice to have you on board. What else do we have? Desert Van Life. Nice to have you on board. Carol Potch. Nice to have you here. We have VT Radio. Nice to have you on board from Vermont. AA1SU. And with the fall colors. What else do we have? Different Gear TV, nice to have you on board. Time to open the beers. Richard Califano says, one thing I have discovered about the LC90s, you can listen to most disaster areas. Yeah, you can actually tune to a lot of the stations that are near these areas. Here, the problem in Canada is that a lot of these are don't stream to Canada. They are blocked. They're geo-blocked because of they don't stream past the U.S. borders. And, I could use a VPN and fix that, but it's kind of sad. Dwayne, nice to have you on board from Northeast Tennessee. So nice to have you here, Desert Van Life. So still, there's an AM guy. 29050 right now. I'm hearing him talk. So pretty cool. LOL PG3D, nice to have you on board. Does my PC cause radio interference? So my PCs technically are actually very quiet for PCs. I use mini PCs, the B-Link mini PCs. I've got 2 of them here. I'm actually using one of the B-Link to stream. And they're all hooked to, one is hooked to a 55-inch screen in front of me. The other one's hooked to this monitor. Right now, what you see here is the screen of my Yaesu transceiver because it's plugged in there. This is one of the things I like about the Yaesu. I can actually see it on a bigger screen if I want, which is nice. But definitely a PC is a PC, and computers tend to make a little noise. The reason I don't have the noise from here, so what you see, the noise that I got on the radio, isn't noise from this room. One of the main reasons why, everything's shielded. So the Yaesu is connected to a shielded coax, good quality shielded coax that goes outside to the back. So there's no interference making it to the radio from inside this room. But if I use a portable radio with the telescopic antenna, I will actually be pretty much unable to hear anything from this room. The interference is too big. Now, the other radios, like the ICOM here right now on CHU 7850 and H501, are connected to a multi-coupler that actually connects to my MLA30 magnetic loop that is outside in the front. So that also is shielded enough that I don't get the interference from inside my room. Even though that MLA30 isn't that far from here, the way its orientation is done, it actually keeps the noise out pretty much. But you've got to, if you have equipment, you have computers, stuff like that, you have to use shielded cables and drive your antenna from really from shielded cables to prevent the interference. Canadian Perry Shortwave, nice to have you on board. Thank you very much for the nice comment. Jerry Hart, nice to have you on board from Niagara Falls, New York. RJ Dakota says, was listening to 10 meters earlier. I was getting one English speaker from Valencia earlier. Cool. Richard, no more Havana, Cuba. Right now, the situation in Cuba is it's very dire. No power since yesterday. Still no power at this time. They're trying to turn back on their power stations that are extremely old and very, they need new power stations. Those stations are old from the, a lot of them are from the Soviet era, helping them. So I think that a lot of what's happening, of course, impacts the radio stations like Radio Havana, Cuba. Somebody was saying yesterday that pretty much all the AM stations, are off the air. So it's kind of a complicated situation. Cool, Andy, new. No volts. At 100 watts, the CQ worldwide puts you in the high power category. For CQ SSB worldwide, 100 watts enough is high power, which I find kind of ridiculous because I don't think 100 watts versus a kilowatt is high power. I was actually joking that I should put my Yaesu at 99 watts so that I can now fall into the low power category. But no, I'm in high power category of also. There's really nobody participating in Canada. It's crazy. Ricardo, nice to have you on board from Portugal. Alex, 82DU, nice to have you here from New York City. Radio Yankee, nice to have you on board. K2YK. Mad Radio DXer, when I compared the number of stations on PSK Reporter from USA and Canada, it surprised me how much less Canadian stations there are. Yeah, we're not that many active. There's a lot of hams in Canada, but most are not active. I'm probably more active than 90%, if not more, of all Canadian hams. 57 Steve DX1, nice to have you on board from Southeast Georgia. Joseph, nice to have you here from San Francisco Bay Area, California. Our radios are all broken right now, so I'm just QESDR. We'll have questions about radios later. How come your radios are all broken? What are you doing with those? Mad Radio DXer, I've talked to a few Canadian stations through digital modes like DMR and C4 FM. That's something I need to check. Let me just go back down here. Go back up. And here we go. I got to find where I was. There we go. MDK2, if you checked our local ham clubs for activity, Jill, that's probably your best gauge for how popular it is in your area. There's a lot of clubs here in Colorado. I even won an HRO gift, a certificate, the last meeting I attended. Yeah, I did look at what's happening around here. It's very quiet. There used to be tons of meetups. I remember in the 90s and even early 2000s, when I was still in my scanner craze moment. But it doesn't seem to be. There's a lot happening now around here. Thomas Burdick, nice to have you here from Rochester, New York. Richard, are we ordering pizza today? No, I'm going to eat leftover lasagna from last night that I made last night. So, but I will keep that $5 for a pizza fund. Actually, maybe next week, what we could do is I could order pizza live and doing ham and stuff and pizza. That could be nice. So thanks, Richard, for the donation. It will go to the pizza fund. Peter John Fetting, nice to have you on board. Jean Arash, a lot of noise in Montreal, but the best place for air traffic signals. Oh, yeah, for sure, for VHF air traffic, definitely. Do you have a desktop PC or laptop? So I got two mini PCs, which are little black boxes that are connected to my big screen. I find those useful for not taking a lot of space because I don't want to have a desktop PC anymore. And I have a gaming laptop, which is an Asus TUF laptop, which is right here next to me on the left. That's connected. So this is pretty much what's running here right now. Jonathan Case, nice to have you on board from Cornwall. Peter John Fetting is ZR6 PCF from South Africa. Nice to have you on board. Metalunar, have you returned to weekly streams? Yes, absolutely. We've this is a third one this month. Since the beginning of October, we're back to the weekly schedule. Nigel Ward, evening, Joel. Best wishes from Arklow, Ireland. Nice, Arklow Island, Ireland. Well, I have a hard time pronouncing. Nice to have you here from Ireland, my friend. Dwayne, when the hurricane came through, I was out of power for days. I did a lot of shortwave, and the noise floor was like 1980s again. Yep, definitely. Satanic Shortwave, nice to have you here. Chiming in from Durango, Colorado. Nice to have you here. Yeah, so yeah, Dwayne, that's where we see how amazing it is. When we had a little ice storm last year in April, well, this year and last year, we had 2 years in a row. The power went out. Oh man! Although it was cold in the house, I was sitting with my jacket in the living room and tuning around the bands with my portable radio, and it was just amazing how quiet it was and signals that I was hearing so easily that are washed out when the power comes back. So random signals. Nice to have you here. Says you get your advanced yet and should do parks on the air. That would be cool. VE3EC. I'm working for my advance. Yeah, I'm thinking about it too. Getting my advance ham license. I'd like that. I think to get up there and have the possibility. The thing I'd like to set up here is a beacon, a 10-meter beacon, little 10-meter beacon that would be transmitting all the time. With, I don't know, 5 watts or something. I'd like that. RJ Dakota says, nice day here in Winslow, Missouri. And our trees are just starting to turn color. Temperatures are tremendous and getting warmer through the week. Steve Burnham, nice to have you on board from Central Pennsylvania. Rotten Animal, nice to have you here from Toronto. J Projects from San Diego, California. Lots of great people. KP and Belongings. Nice to have you here from northeast part of Assam, India. Nice to have you on board. QRP radio listener. Nice to have you on board from Ponza Island in Italy. Pretty cool. Really, truly an international audience today. Voislav, nice to have you here from Belgrade, Serbia. Tarek Zaidan, nice to have you here, Tarek, from Cairo, Egypt. Really an international audience. Vault says also not all coax are created equally shielded. For example, plain RG58 turned out was inadequate. It was picking up some noise from my room if near an LCD screen. Yeah, the shielding isn't always equal. Some are much better than others. Usually goes with the price. More expensive coax will have better shielding around them. We got to be very, very careful. I had one problem, which was not that the coax was bad. It's where it connected to where it was soldered to the connector. The shielding was not well soldered, and I would have noise, intermittent noise, on receive, and I was wondering why. And it turns out that when I opened the connector, I could see that the shield was not always doing a good contact. So I had to get out my soldering iron and just fix it and put it back together. And since then, it's been perfect. But these are also something to look at because you never know. KP and belongings. I use 2 radio, XH Data D808, and Philips Champion. I got better reception on my Philips radio, but I misses VOA, especially the autogram hosted by Judy Meta Border Crossings of 90s. Brian Penny, nice to have you here from Cape Cod. Always nice to have you on board, my friend. It's always cool. Sagenhaft und Sunderbar. Nice to have you here. Cheers, my friend from Germany. Andy New says, I don't think my 10 watts QRP will reach you, but I might be worth a try. Yeah, absolutely. You never know. 10 watts in good conditions, you'd be surprised at how far it can go. I experimented on my Yaesu. It goes down to 5 watts. And I went to 5 watts in different modes to see if anybody would hear me with such low power. And it's surprising. On FT8, 5 watts on my Yaesu easily makes it to Europe. And in SSB voice, I had a few contacts with just 5 watts with some stations. Very surprising. When conditions are good, you could be very, very surprised of how far you're going. Nigel was thinking of buying the DX286 and was wondering just how far could you pull an FM signal from? I'm in Ireland. Would I be able to hear FM stations and say the States? Thanks, bud. So here's the thing. 2 types of propagation happen. Well, 3 types and maybe more with FM signals. So the FM band is VHF. So it's not like shortwave. The standard propagation is line of sight, which roughly equates to maybe 100, 120, 130 kilometers. Depending on your height, also, if you live on a mountain or not, or in the valley, it differs a lot. The DX286 is definitely one of the best FM radios out there, okay? And so if you have to choose one to listen to FM, choose that DX286. But now you're talking about, can I hear a station from the States? Or in your case, also where you're living, maybe other countries in Europe. You know what? And there's 2 types of propagation that can help you with that. One is tropoducting. If there's, temperature inversions, if there's bad weather, sometimes the atmosphere has this layer of the atmosphere that actually traps a VHF signal into a certain level and makes it propagate further than it should. So it will actually propagate and follow part of the curvature of the Earth. That would give you on that radio a lot of European stations. So you would probably hear at some European, if you listen daily or regularly, I wouldn't be surprised. As for the States, that's a little more difficult, but it's not impossible because there's sporadic e-skip that happens, and a lot of it happens over the oceans, actually. So sporadic e-skip is those really high ionized um, patches of the ionosphere, and they actually bounce off FM signals, mostly on the bottom part of the FM band, but you'd be surprised. I've heard a station from down in Florida, up here in Montreal, not on the X286, but it would have worked, that's for sure, on the DX286. So you are going to want to search for something like that, a capability or a sporadic e-skip um, that would help you get that signal. So, it's not a miracle machine. The DX286 is just one of the best FM radios out there, but it's not, it ain't technically going to get you necessarily further away stations than a good FM radio. But when conditions are right, that radio is the best to do that job. Here I'm going to share a website which is dxmaps.com. If you want to see FM, sporadic E, or any DX of FM signals and higher frequencies, that website is great. You can go on the top in the menus, look at what's propagation for the FM band, for any other amateur band. It's really, really a cool website to see if propagation is open from different parts of the world. Where the DX286 shines a lot is if you live in a big city like I do. I live in a place where the FM signals here are tremendous, and your radios better be good if they want to pass the Montreal test where I live. Truly, this is the best laboratory for any radio manufacturer, because if they can stand the FM hell that I'm living through, the radio is good. So basically, what happens is that um, if you live in a city like I do, the radio is amazing. It can, it doesn't overload, and it works just so amazingly well in this type of environment. That's also where it shines, and the capabilities of not only being an amazing FM radio, but in being capable of not overloading. So check it out. But don't expect, because it's very difficult. People sometimes expect, well, that's the best FM radio you say, so maybe I'm going to get more. It's not necessarily going to give you more, but it is the best radio to do that if it happens. Matt says, I read the rules for CQDX, and low power is defined as not exceeding 100 watts. Okay, it's not exceeding 100 watts. For some reason, it had me put in the high power, because when I look at my certificate, it says high power. So, okay. So not exceeding 100 watts. Okay. Which means technically I could put myself in low power. Okay. I'm going to check that again. Thanks for the info, because I had kind of understood that 100 watts was, I think it was automatic. When I put my 100 watts to check out, it put me in high power. So not exceeding 100. So 101 watts would be high power, but 100 watt would still be considered low power. Thanks for the I'm going to check that out. So I'll be able to put myself in low power. Okay, cool. Jean Arash in Cuba, the websites and streams of Radio Relo and Radio Van in Cuba are still up and running. Probably have good generators. Yeah, but they're possibly not hosted also in Cuba for the most part. But the streams are working, so probably have some generators or at least enough power for that. I would think, because one of the things I was thinking about the Radio Van in Cuba is that most shortwave transmitters, most shortwave broadcasters often have their own power generation. So I would think that maybe Radio Havana Cuba's transmitters have their own, generators to run the transmitters. Because often those transmitters take so much power from the grid that they have to have their own power. Matt Reader DXer just thought, do you think more Canadian hams are turning to digital modes like DMR because of the noise issues? I was surprised how many Canadian stations are active on these modes. It's not impossible. It's not impossible. You know what? What I have the impression is that there's a lot of Canadian hams that are not on the HF bands. So everything's possible. I don't know. Nick Amendo, nice to have you here from Romania. ET Radio, I heard that AMers when you mentioned them, not hearing them now. Yeah, it seems to be quiet down now. We're at that time when the AMers are a little more difficult. The best times for them here is really late morning up to about mid afternoon, early afternoon. Williams Travel. Any suggestions on antenna setup for my shortwave radio in my camper van? That's an interesting one. I would probably be looking into, putting up something, a wire around a camper van or something. I don't know. Be interesting. If anybody has an idea for a friend here. Tarek says, if I can go back now. Okay, here we go. Tarek says, the extra shortwave listeners are always happy with power outages. Yeah, pretty much. Am I still using the quarter cent? Yeah, I put it a little away because of the other radios I'm playing with. But, it's never very far. It's never very far. I need to use it more. I haven't used it in maybe a week and a half. You're making me think that I should use it tonight. Tune around the bands. Peter Marshall, yeah, you're hearing CHU because my ICOM here is on CHU. But my Yaesu is on 29050, where there was an AM amateur radio station earlier. So what you're hearing could be misleading because I have 3 radios on and 3 different frequencies tuned. So you might be hearing something else. That is not what's on this screen. Don't be fooled. Sid, nice to have you on board. Happy to hear you're doing weekly casting during the winter months. So nice to have you on board from Central UK. Benjamin Sebastian, nice to have you here from Akron, Ohio. I love taking my portable to the part of the lake in the evening this time of year. It's amazing what you can pick up in the fall beside a body of water. Yep, water does improve a lot of the propagation. Handy news been all around Europe, 10 watts and a Wonder Loop, Wonder Wand. Cool. Harold Anderson, nice to have you here from Norway, LB1NH. And I have moved from Oslo to Vorsmund, north of Oslo, about 40 kilometers. Cool. Lower noise, hopefully, for your radios. VE5 SAR Amnetics, nice to have you on board. So nice to have you here. Alriz says, now I can do a lot of DX contacts. The best to you all from Norway. Pretty cool. Nice to have you here. Sophia Green, we listened to the farewell together for WCBS AM, my friend. Well, nice to have you back. Yeah, that was something. That was something. That evening was emotional for a lot of people. The change of programming WCBS definitely was something. Sophia Green says, grew up in Laval. Cool. Just up north here from Montreal. Joseph, any news on the Texan PL680? Did they stop making it? Any other similar analog alternatives? Yeah, so a lot of people are saying it's getting hard to find. And I had a couple of guys tell me that Texan had confirmed to them that it is now out of production. It was the last, pretty much one of the last analog Texans being made. Now they're making a lot of radios with the DSP chips. So it was, a question of time before it didn't move on, for sure. I think if the 600 series isn't available anymore, the 600, 660, 680, there ain't much in the analog world that you can purchase brand new now. You will have to buy something a little more expensive that has the hybrid DSP and PLL, like a Texan PL 880, 990, HF501X, the Texan S2200X. They're more expensive, but they are still, they don't mute when you tune and all of that. They use the DSP chip in a different stage, so you get some of the features. But analog, like we used to have, pretty much no radios anymore are doing that. V5 SAR Amnetics says, Mark from Hollywood Electronics showed off a new AM/FM cell inline filter at Pacificon last night. Looks great for when you're just too close to insert tower here. Huh. Yeah. There's a lot of interesting products like that. Fawaz, I have an ATS 909X and its shortwave pickup is so bad. Something's wrong with your radio, because the 909X is as good as any other radio. There must be something wrong. Yeah, it's possible, Matt, because I had read last year where I was, and I understood that 100 watts, and actually my category is put in the high power mode. So now I'll know. I'll check it out for this time around. I actually purchased a piece of software for next week. I want to be a little, I don't want to be, I'm not going to be a big contest station, obviously. I'm not going to make millions of points like that number one Canadian station, but I just want to, do a decent score. And what happened is I started looking at loggings online, logging software. And one of the interesting things that I actually have seen is that there was a ham radio operator that had software. Let me just try to find what was the name of that. The software is CQ Worldwide DX Contest Log. It's a piece of software that is made specifically to log the CQ Worldwide, DX contest, and it's extremely fast. I mean, you enter the call, it fills up everything else. All you have to put in is the RST or the RS, the 5959, which is always 59 on on a contest. And if I have to modify the CQ zone, I can modify it. But if it's what the guy tells me is the same, you just leave it like that. Press enter, next. It calculates all the points automatically. It's really neat. So I looked at it. It had a trial version, and after about an hour of playing with it, I was like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna take that. So it's $8.99. So I purchased the software and I got the license code. So I'll be using that for contesting next week, which will help me with logging of all the stations. I think it's going to be cool, and it outputs the format file exactly as the format that the CQ Worldwide website requires to send in your logs. So I thought, yeah, it's worth it in $8.99. I'm going to purchase it. So I think it's going to be pretty cool. So IRL Innocence says 100 watts is a high power station. So I don't know. Are we misinterpreting? Because the way you just put the phrase, Matt, it's obvious that it means above 100 watts. So I don't know. Probably is. So if you agree, me, I mean 80 now, a stupid sports station. Yeah, unfortunately. I miss WCBS. I'll tell you that. Tristan, nice to have you here from Newfoundland. Matt says it only makes sense since rigs are only built to output 100 watts max. It takes amplification to exceed that. Yeah. Unless you get that big rig like the FTDX 101 MP, one of the rare rigs that actually outputs 200 watts. Oh, sorry, Sophia Green. No worries. It's not a language course here. It's radio. Jean Arash, yeah, the problem absolutely in Cuba, the gas is difficult to get, and so even those generators can have a hard time getting what they need. Absolutely. Steve Munich just started playing with Shortwave and Remote Kiwi. Where is a good place to get frequency schedules? I'm going to give you two sites here that I'm going to post in the chat. One is shortwave.info. I'm just going to put, short dash wave.info. This is one which could be used for schedules and frequencies. This one is easy because it has, a way of searching and trying to find stations that is more, that is better for people that are not really used to all the lingo and all the jargon about, shortwave. My favorite, because of its accuracy and listings and frequencies, is EIBI space. But it is a listing and it's a little cryptic. And if you don't understand the abbreviations, it's kind of weird. So, you can check that out and for your help. So check those two websites and you will find schedules. Now, remember, Steve, the schedules are going to change Sunday, the 27th, because of the winter schedules getting into effect. So these websites might be inaccurate for a few days to a few weeks, but they will be updated with the new schedule frequencies. John, Tampa, Florida, nice to have you on board. Yeah, Vault, says, antenna is what matters. Absolutely. Random signals. There's only about 77,000 hams in Canada, as per the RAC. Who knows how many of those are in Saskatchewan? We know it's probably less than 70,000. Or SK. Oh, sorry, Saskatchewan. Or SK are dead or something. You know, one of the biggest problems with that random signals is the lifetime ham license, which it goes to up to 120 years. You know, I mean, if I drop dead now, nobody will tell the ISCD that I'm dead. My call is going to be locked up to my age of 120, which means it's going to be locked up until 2089, which is a nonsense. So that's why I always thought that, okay, I understand that you don't want to have the hassle of checking out the ham license if the person's still alive. But it'd be so simple to just, how about just sending an email? Or for people that are not connected, a letter that just states, like every 10 years, log on to our website and tell us you're still alive and active. I find that once every 10 years would be reasonable, and you could weed out, and leave the stations. You know what? I wanted to have, I would have loved to have the call sign of my sister, which was Victor Echo 2 Delta Papa Oscar. And you know what? I've learned that the person behind the call possibly has passed away. And so I can't do anything because I'm not family. I'm not, and what are you going to do? Try to start, harassing the family for can you give me a death certificate or something to show that he's dead? And nobody knows that. If I die, no one knows that, technically it'd be a good idea to tell the ISCD that I'm dead. No one knows. No one. So my call sign is going to be locked up until 2089, whatever happens. Which I find it a little bit of nonsense. There should be a 10-year verification of, hey, you're still alive? Yeah? Okay. Continue another 10 years. Yeah, John Tampa. I thought the morning was a little. What do you get on 17855 shortwave? It's Spain. That should be on that frequency. I'm probably going to hear it here. It's not super strong. It shows that the propagation is changing. That's Spain, 17855. And they have English 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 22 hours UTC. They have half hour in English, followed by half hour of French. Hi, Africa FM on 17600, playing music. It's 125th or 120? I thought it was 120, but it's something like that anyways. I mean, are we going to live to 120 or 125? Yeah, I'm not sure. Thank you, Sofer Green. Nice to have you here. Hen Freelangi, nice to have you here from Scotland. Nice to have you on board, my friend. Matt says there's a similar software for field day logging. Yeah, actually, the website that I went to purchase the software, the guy has like 30 or 40 different programs that you can purchase, and they're all for specific contests. So I thought that was a kind of good idea. I didn't want to have some kind of, big thing that, I'm not going to use half of it. I thought that was just like perfect. Did the job that I wanted, does it really quickly. I thought that was really, really nice. Andy knew my Texan was the 660. I was pretty impressed. I now have the 990X, 501X, and still own the old S2000. Cool. Blue Line Wall, nice to have you on board. Good afternoon. 57 Steve DX1 says the Texan 600 series is hard to beat. I use my PL 660 with kid gloves now. Tristan, was wondering if bodies of water affect radio reception. Could you explain a little how that works? So, yeah, they do. Definitely do. So, let me just go here. So, salt water, particularly, it's like oceans, are the best. That's why Sackville transmitter side of RCI was in a marsh in New Brunswick with salt water. That made the ground perfect for antenna grounding and the radiation patterns. So typically, first of all, in propagation, anything that is clear, if you have a big field with no mountains and anything, that's always good for, especially for line of sight. In terms of propagation for medium wave, long wave, the signal bounce, because when you look at a shortwave signal, it bounces. So transmitters here, it bounces off the ionosphere, but often what you are getting is not the first bounce. Often when you're listening to a station from, say, Radio Romania is not just a one big bounce to your home in the East Coast. It's going to be probably the second bounce. And what happens is that the shortwave signals can bounce on land or can bounce on the ocean. And the ocean is a much better place for the signal to bounce. The loss is minimal, especially salty oceans. So when they bounce off the ocean, there's almost no loss. But when they bounce on the land, there's a lot more loss. The land is not as good as keeping the properties of your radio signal. So that is why the East Coast is getting it easy on signals in Europe, because most of the bounces, most of the signal is going to be over ocean before reaching the East Coast. But the people in the West Coast, it's not just because they're further away that it's tougher. It's because the rest of the bounce is going to be over land. It's going to be over North America. And that is going to have a lot more loss before it reaches your radio. So it's kind of a property of radio waves and water. You'll find it even more interesting. The line of sight we were talking about, VHF, UHF. And if you have a field and transmit a VHF, UHF signal, it will go a pretty good distance, a line of sight. But over water, because of several phenomena. First of all, the water itself, but also because over water, the types of propagation, the tropoducting can occur, all sorts of things like that. If you make 100 miles or 100 kilometers over a field, you might make 150 over a lake or over an ocean, just because the properties change and enhance the signal propagation and distance. So people that live near the coast often have a lot more DX of all sorts of signals. Another example, medium wave. Notice that all the big gun DXers out there that receive stations from all around the world on medium wave tend to live near the coast, near the ocean. We have one guy here in the CIDX members of the Canadian International DX Club. he's got these amazing AM logs from stations like he's hearing the AM station on 570 that's in, I think it's 570, in New Greenland regularly. For him, it's a regular thing. He's in Newfoundland. Of course, he's closer, but it's not just that he's closer. Between him and Greenland, the Newark station, it's almost only ocean. He's getting European AM stations like, you know, we're receiving shortwave stations. For him, it's a natural occurrence. Once again, because of the salty ocean between Europe and his place. The signals don't have to bounce over or move over land much. They're mostly over the ocean. Norbert Toth. How the Texan S2200X performs on medium wave compared to the PL990X. I am interested in above 1300 kilohertz. Thanks. That's a good question. I would have to test more. I haven't tested medium wave a lot, but I would think that because of its fairly big and rotatable antenna on top for medium wave, that the S2200X would probably be better on medium wave than a PL990. I wouldn't be surprised. That said, the PL990 can connect to an external antenna for the okay, so I got distracted here. So you can put an external antenna on the PL990. So like on the S2200X. So that's where what would be the performance of both. I think I need to maybe see if I've not tested both on medium wave. So maybe that could be a nice little series of videos checking out the performance of both. But I would tend to think the S2200X maybe has something, something good on medium wave. Vaults. I've tried quite many pieces of logging software. All I have seen sadly lack professional touch. I've seen that I would be 100 happy with. Yeah, that's why I focused on a very specific software for the CQ Worldwide, not a big gun software or any software that just is a logging software. Because it did what I wanted, which is quick, easy log, fills up all the stuff that you need automatically, lets you correct if there's something to correct on it. But for the rest, it just was perfect for just a contest that I wanted. But yeah, you know what? I have used a lot of ham software. I've used the Ham Radio Deluxe, all sorts of things like that. Yeah, it's I understand what you're saying. The logging part of Andy New, the Malahit DSP2 is an amazing radio for its range and great noise reduction. Matt, it definitely says exceed. So, okay. QRP can't exceed 5 watts. Low power can't exceed 100 watts. And high power can't exceed 1500 watts. So, okay, cool. Thanks for the info. Norbert Todd, thank you for the donation. Much appreciated. Alan Howell, nice to have you from West Quebec, cowboy country. Nice to have you here. Today's figures, nice to have you here. Different gear. Would you want a dead man's call sign, though? Not sure about that. I wouldn't care about that. I have no problem with it. For me, it would not be a dead man's call sign. It would be in my case, it would be my sister's call sign. For me, it always represents my sister's call sign. But for the part of a dead man's, I don't see why it's a problem. In my case, especially if the call sign, I can imagine like DX stations often want to have a very short call because it makes things a little easier and faster. I could see anybody fetching a short call from somebody that passed away. Um, Random signals. If you know the owner of the call, he passed, and can find an obituary, you can call the office and Sault Ste. Marie and advise to show the proof. Okay. We'll be checking that out. I'll check out. Who knows? I'd have to find a obituary and make sure it's him, though. But yeah. Okay. V5 SAR Nanetics, it's good practice to update your wills, notify upon death section to include ISCD. Traditionally, it's not used for that, but it's the perfect place. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna check that out. Random signals. Although I am now quite happy with my call, but it's mostly because it's my sister's call. Sophia Green, love the shortwave. See you next weekend. Set your clocks ahead next week. No, 2 weeks from now. It's not next week, Sophia. The clocks here in North America are the first weekend of November, not next week. John, Tampa, Florida, 17855, Radio España, always clear and decent signal in Florida, and 17 down that frequency. Yep. Random signals. I know many locally who manage to get call signs from people who passed, and they called it, and it was issued to them. You just got to pay the 60. Yeah, because you want to have a different call sign. Can you have? You can have 2 call signs, right? You can have an extra one, like I can use both. I remember there's something about that. I've seen some people with more than one, so I guess you can have 2 call signs. If you can, then I would be happy to have both. Keep the V2ZZI and have V2DPO. Ricky, found you through ham radio outlet in Portland, Oregon. Wow, thanks to HRO and my friend Simon Templar. Thanks to have you here, Ricky. Nigel Ward, partly cloudy, bad weather here to help that propagation. Cloudy is the way forward. Always nice to have you here. Random signals, it's worth checking out, Joe. By the way, I tried working you on 40 a while ago with FT8. Tried calling you, but you couldn't hear me. I guess my signal was going over you. Yeah, it's possible. Or, like I was saying earlier, got so much noise that maybe it was getting here, just not showing up. What's your call sign, Random Signals? I just added blue. So RJ Dakota, 17855, still great. Hingnell, yep. Fellows, good morning from Saudi Arabia. Nice to have you on board. It's midnight. Time to party. Midnight is early. It's time to party. Shortwave style. V5 SAR, Netix, not just shortwave stations like Sackville, clear channel CBCM, yep. It's located in Welch, Saskatchewan because of the proximity to Salty Lake, Manitou, and generally high soil conductance. Yep. And there's quite a few of the AM stations across the East Coast of the U.S. that use that type of ground also to have the best propagation possible of the signals. J Products, yep. San Diego and LA, 100 plus miles tend to get regular VHF contacts, mostly over water. Yep. Matter the extra show, if more Canadian hams are going over to digital voice modes, would you consider getting something like the MR radio? It is a lot of fun, and we can do a QSO for sure. Yeah, eventually I'll check that out for sure. The It's just that I'm kind of much more into HF. I'm the guy into weird, like things that are a little exotic. So HF, I like to have like try some satellite contacts eventually. But yeah, definitely. But I just need to have a radio that would do it and try it out. So I'm gonna check it out eventually, definitely. Matter the Xer. Would it be possible for you to get two-letter call sign? Well, yeah, definitely. If there would be one available, it would be possible. It's just that they're all used by those hams that want to have the shortest call possible. But yeah, it would technically be available. Technically, it's a possibility. You just need to have one available to grab. Okay, random signals. Cool. Yeah, I would keep my sister's. I'd probably continue using my V2 Victor Echo 2 Zulu Zulu India, but have my sister's call sign would be kind of nice. Hi, Jay Dakota. I'd love to hear Greece come back to shortwave. It's been a long time since I've just lost. What the hell happened here? Everything moved. Let's go back up. Yeah, Greece. Yeah, heard from them. Yeah, Greece would have been fun, but unfortunately, they're gone now. That says I've seen Canadian with two call signs. Must be special to that nation. So you can have as many as we want, actually. Okay, you got to pay for them. Random signals getting a two-letter call sign in Canada. You need to have been licensed for at least 5 years. So okay, that's good. That's good to know. Under the X, they're looking to the Baofeng DM 1701, cheapest, best DMR radio. Also a hotspot, so you don't need to use a repeater. I think all that will cost 100 Canadian dollars or a little more. Okay, I'll be checking that out. Definitely be checking that out. I don't know what to do exactly with this. So I contacted XH Data because I got this, which is the XH Data E100. It's a transceiver, VHF, UHF transceiver. So let me. I'm going to ask a couple of questions that some of you might tell me or answer or any questions as an amateur radio operator. So this thing, which is a ham radio transceiver, 2 meters, 70 centimeters. The problem is it's unlocked, so it transmits all over the VHF range and all over the UHF range also. And so XH Data gave this to me free. They wanted me to talk about it. I've been hesitant to talk about it because I do believe having a unlocked radio like this is illegal. Now I have talked to them about my concerns. They have said that this radio is FCC approved for sale. What does that mean? Does that mean that the way it is, even if it transmits everywhere, because it's FCC approved, it doesn't matter? Because I'm still not sure. Now, what it tells me is like it's FCC approved for an amateur radio operator. on a 2-meter band, 70 centimeter band. What it tells me is that I can use it on the handbands, but I got a problem with the fact that it's unlocked. And I'm not sure that's legal, even if it's FCC approved. So what do you guys think? It's a question to you guys. Should I talk about this? Because they kind of want me to talk about it because they're going to launch this in a couple of days. They're going to launch this next week. And as the XH Data E100. This thing is a very complex receiver. It's like crazy. It's like having one of those, handheld transceivers from Yaesu or anything. It has complete menus to go through. It's okay in performance. It's okay in what it is, but still, I'm not sure that I want to talk about it. I don't know. So, what do you guys think? FCC approved, but it transmits everywhere where it shouldn't. Is that legal? I'm in the it's not legal. What do you guys think? Asking because should I talk about it on the channel or should I keep my mouth shut? I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Okay, let's go down and see. Because for the most part, like Matt says, for the most part, most short calls are used for the most part. Manu DXer. Okay, no, that's okay. Different gear. I suppose if you use 11-meter free band, you can have any call sign you like. Well, that's a different thing. You can make up a call sign on that band. It doesn't matter. You're not licensed for it. For sure. Random signals. As for my 2-letter call sign, I just got lucky one night and checked for available 2-letter call signs, and this one was available. Wow. Pretty cool. Hurricane watch net now? Is there an hurricane about to hit the US or something? Hurricane watch net. ORG. Yeah, it is active. So there's is it because of Oscar? Is it our Hurricane Oscar that's being looked at? Well, there's Oscar and Nadine. Yeah, net is active. 14325 and 7268. So our net activation plans. Okay. Maybe Oscar. And where is Oscar heading? That's interesting. We're going to check that out. Hope it's not another one that's going to hit Florida. I think Florida's got enough for this year. Okay, what about Canadian call signs that begin with letter C? Does that signify any difference from a V call? Usually, I think isn't there like the C call more like for special events? I mean, we do see some of them. And them signal says no difference. There was a time we were running out of call signs, so they came up with V and VA. Okay. Different gear. No, I will not key up on the XH data for sure. Um, I actually have a weather station here, and the other day I was on 70 centimeters on it, and I keyed up a repeater, and my weather station went completely haywire. So, they are lying, or someone at the FCC was clueless. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I think this thing is illegal. That's still my stance, and I do not want to. I don't want to talk about it because of that. Because it could get me in trouble. I'm a licensed ham. Somebody could complain, or I don't know. I think this thing is illegal technically. So, I was very surprised when it's like it's got FCC approval. They actually gave me all the details, even the like the approval number and everything, so I can check it myself. But I can't talk about a radio that I think is technically illegal. Plus, the other reason I don't want to talk about it is they're just selling it to whoever wants one. They should be selling it only to hams. Robert Osborne, did the Soviets jam shortwave as much as the Chinese do? As much, if not more. China does jam a lot, but I think the Soviets in the day probably jammed as much as the Chinese do today, and even more. The Chinese do it in a very special way. They do it by using their own domestic broadcasts. So CNR1, Chinese station. So it doesn't show like a jammer. It's like, oh, China's here with a program. Where the Soviets used noise jammers. So that was very obvious as a jammer. Where China is more like, no, we're just broadcasting our programs here. It's very it's it's trying to just say, well, no, it's by accident we're on this frequency, I guess. So it's very different. Cheers. So you know, so Matt, given the way the FCC shut down the Baofangs that could operate on ham and GMRS bands, I highly doubt they'd actually approve a completely unlocked radio. I wouldn't believe XH data on that point. Okay. Check with your actual regulators if possible. Yeah, because I mean, you can operate this on the GMRS bands. I've noticed that it's 5 watts everywhere, which means there's part of the GMRS or FRS band that is locked into low power, like 500 milliwatts or something. Some of the channels are like 2 or 3 watts only, not 5, which makes this illegal in many channels on the GMRS. Also, I mean, come on, you can transmit on the marine band, you can transmit over the weather channels. This is just crazy. Um, so I told XH Data that I can't talk about this. I don't care if you give it to me. I can't talk about this. This is illegal and should not exist in the form that it is. I told him that to be legal, and I really told him that to be legal, it has to be locked down to the amateur radio bands only and sold to amateur radio operators, licensed operators. If this would be locked down to the amateur bands only, I'd happily talk about it. But no, I can't talk about this. I don't want to get into trouble, and I will not talk about it for sure. Yeah, I guess that's what I should do, Jean Arash. Vault says here it would be legal if it's factory made. Even if it transmits on frequency ranges that are not supposed to, because this one transmits everywhere. You can transmit on any VHF frequency. The only decent thing they did is lock the airband, because if they did not, this would be completely nuts. A radio that would transmit on airband. So, yeah, somebody told me there's maybe some key presses to do that would actually lock it back down to just the ham bands. Maybe I should check that, but I'm not. Even then, I would not want to talk about it because they're selling it totally unlocked. I can't talk about it. I can't talk about it. Better be safe than sorry. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there must be a database. Actually, they send me numbers. Maybe there should is there a FCC database online that I could go and check out, you know, how this could have been approved or not? I have a hard time, could they have that's the other question. Could they have sent a locked one to the FCC to approve but sell unlocked afterwards? This is the other question here. John, Tampa, Florida. I believe it's not legal if your device is unlocked in the USA, but I'm not certain. I'm pretty sure it must be illegal, even in Canada. Christopher Cullen, the Quantian version of that radio is much better. I'm not sure about that one you're showing. Looks like another dodgy clone. This is a Baofeng. Kevin Davidson that um, contacted me through email got one also, and he confirmed that there's a Baofeng version, which is exactly this, with the same manual, everything. So this is, in fact, a Baofeng that XH Data has sent me, as they are selling it on the XH Data E100 branding. But this technically is a Baofeng that already existed before. So I don't know. John, Tampa, Central America, Florida is not a trend zone for now. Okay, cool.